Hello and welcome back to another video or audio if you're listening in an audio format. My name is Justyna. Welcome to my channel. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. All right, so here today I'm going to talk about the upcoming full moon, the November full moon, which is happening on November the 5th at 13 degrees of Taurus. So here, first of all, if your birthday is on the 5th of November, happy birthday. This coming year brings a major turning point, a possible culmination to a major chapter of your life. And this is what happens when the full moon falls on our birthday. Now, if you have any placements at around 13 degrees of Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, or Aquarius, then you will be under a greater influence of this full moon, give or take 3 degrees. And here, full moon occurs when the sun and the moon are in the opposing signs, and this is when the moon is fully illuminated. So we've got the moon in Taurus and the sun is in Scorpio. So our emotions are heightened, and so are our feelings, and also our intuition seems to be much stronger than usual as well. All right, so as many of you know, I like to connect every full moon to a larger cycle, to a larger story. So here in the so-called gestation lunar cycle, which lasts 2 years and 7 months, and here the full moon, here this particular full moon, we connect to the new moon that took place 18 months prior. Now, the reason I like to follow this particular cycle is because this the new moon, the full moon, and the first and the last quarter moon in between, they all fall at a similar degree. And if there is a natal planets at around a degree of the full moon or a new moon in this cycle, then that means that it's a continuation of the story here. If we follow a new moon that starts at 28 degrees in Taurus, and then 6 months later you've got a full moon at 1 degree of Taurus, then it doesn't really connect to the same placements in our birth chart. So that's on a side note. All right, so think about what you started, what you initiated in your life around 18 months prior to this full moon. That would take us to May 2024, around about. During this full moon, you might see some of your efforts coming to light, to fruition. And overall here, with the full moon energy, things generally happen. All right, so here we've got the Taurus energy, fixed energy. So fixed lunations indicate lasting energies, lasting outcomes. And we've got earthy, grounded energy as well. And first of all, here, what does Taurus stand for? Taurus stands for money, assets, values, self-worth, but also anything to do with the simple pleasures of life, the comforts of life. Now, the ruler of this full moon is Venus. Venus is at 28 degrees of Libra at this point, at the time of this full moon, which also gives this full moon that feeling of urgency, like you're running out of time and now or never feeling. That's what happens when a new moon, full moon, or the ruler, the dispositor, is at a very, very late degree. All right, so here we've got a very important T square happening, which we'll discuss in a moment. We've got Pluto and Jupiter opposition, which will become exact next year in July 2026. And both these planets square the ruler of this full moon by connect with the ruler of this full moon by a square. So here Venus becomes the focal planet. So first of all, what does Pluto in Aquarius stand for? Pluto is connected to power, control. Now, Pluto in Aquarius, Aquarius is the sign of innovation, technology, progressive thinking. Pluto in Aquarius is connected to power over technological systems, digital currencies, global networks, or innovation-driven industries, but also social movements. Now, Jupiter in Cancer is connected to patriotism and housing, family welfare, financial support systems as well. So, the opposition between Jupiter and Pluto, which will be exact next year in July 2026, exposes this really, really strong tension between innovation and tradition. So, here, Aquarius and Cancer energy between quick and rapid systematic change and the public's needs for stability and safety. Now, with Venus being the focal planet of this opposition, Venus acts as a bridge here, as a pressure point. It could manifest as disruptions in the stock market, especially in sectors related to luxury goods, housing, banking, technology as well, of course, under the influence of Aquarius. Generally, we could also see a much heightened awareness of economic inequalities across the globe, cost of living crisis as well. Venus in Libra focuses on fairness, balance, while the full moon energy in the sign of Taurus indicates a possible culmination of major cycles, financial cycles. So these sort of energy often coincide with market turning points or some new economic policies being announced, but also a major, intense public pressure for change, especially with Uranus on its way back to Taurus as of November the 8th. This also reinforces instability. All right, so let's have a look how this full moon will influence each rising sign. These horoscopes are most accurate for your rising sign. However, you can also watch your horoscope for the moon sign or your sun sign if you wish, just to get a bigger picture and a wider perspective upon your life. So thank you very much, and let's begin. All right, so hello Aries, and welcome to your full moon in Taurus horoscope. So here this full moon activates your area of money, income, finances, resources. And this full moon makes you more aware of what is sustainable, what isn't. This is a time generally to also think about those new beginnings, intentions that took place back in May 2024 during this full moon. You might realize what's working, what isn't, what it's time to let go, release. Generally, this could be a turning point in your financial area of your life. And overall, here, Venus being at 28 degrees of Libra, and this is the focal point of the Jupiter in Cancer and Pluto in Aquarius opposition. This brings a complex layer to this full moon because this could generally manifest as perhaps some financial decisions you will be making, or financial negotiations, some investment decisions, even, or perhaps you might be discussing some partnership opportunities at this time that generally will require a really, really careful consideration. Perhaps you may feel a lot of pressure to adapt to new systems or some kind of digital platforms, or some new ways, different ways of managing money, while at the same time, simultaneously protecting, looking after what you have already built. So the full moon in Taurus generally wants you to ground your energy, to ground your actions, because with Taurus is not about rushing. Here, any impulsive actions, any impulsive moves could feel very tempting around this time, but you are looking here at long-term security. Whatever that you decide, it will have lasting consequences. So for this reason, it's essential that you plan carefully, that you have a clear understanding of what's important, of your priorities overall. So generally, this is also time to let go, release of what no longer serves your financial security, stability, and at the same time, on an emotional level, this full moon could also bring the much needed clarity about your sense of self worth, your sense of self esteem. Maybe This full moon might make you realize that you don't need external validation to move forward with specific goals, ideas. You don't need to rely on other people's expectations, approval in order to reach your goals, take charge of this area of your area of finances, of this area of your life. All right, so thank you very much. Now let's have a look at Taurus. Taurus, welcome to your full moon in Taurus horoscope. So this full moon is in your first house. So it's in a way a personal rebirth and a moment of transformation that you might be experiencing during this time because this full moon happening in your first house in your sign makes it generally makes this full moon intensely transformative but also very personal. So since May 2024 you may have been developing, building, growing new ways of expressing yourself, perhaps understanding your sense of self-worth, for example. Perhaps you've been working towards a specific milestone, a goal, idea, project, and this full moon illuminates which areas of life you are ready to solidify and perhaps which require release, letting go, adjustment. So this is generally your moment to step fully into your power, into authenticity. And this full moon gives you this amazing opportunity to let go, leave behind anything that no longer serves your growth. Now, your ruler is Venus, and Venus is at 28 degrees of Libra, involved in a T square between Pluto and Jupiter. So generally, for you, this could manifest as perhaps a deep awareness, a moment of a major clarity, and of perhaps generally this could generally manifest as this deep awareness of what supports your stability versus what drains it. So overall, some relationships or partnerships or some financial arrangements could feel really intense or even confrontational at this time. But the key here is to stand firm in your boundaries without closing off any opportunities that emerge for growth, for development. Now, at the same time, with Venus being at such a late degree of Libra, this could also indicate that perhaps you might be more aware of any old patterns connected to people pleasing or overcommitting or clinging to what feels safe. So this is an amazing opportunity to reinvent yourself, to generally to take charge of your life. All right, so thank you very much, Taurus. Now, Geminis, welcome to your full moon in Taurus horoscope. This full moon activates your 12th house of the subconscious, hidden patterns, spirituality, and in a way, this full moon could feel like a spiritual renewal in a way. Now, this full moon brings this amazing opportunity to let go of generally of what no longer serves your long-term growth. Remember, Taurus is a fixed sign. So over the past 18 months, you may have unconsciously accumulated some emotional or financial, maybe even relational baggage, maybe some habits, some fears, and anxieties that have been really perhaps blocking some of your efforts, holding you back. So now this full moon may help you see these patterns from a very different angle because you might become more aware of these sort of tendencies. And this is your chance, this amazing opportunity to let go of any heavy, unnecessary, draining energy. This way you create space for something more aligned, more lasting, more sustainable to come into your energy field. Now, Venus, the ruler of this full moon, is at 28 degrees of Libra. It is also the focal planet of the Pluto and Jupiter position. So for you, this means that perhaps the inner transformation that is occurring around this full moon for you at a personal level could be also deeply connected to something on the outside, some external structures, situations occurring in your life. Now, here, generally, this energy could also illuminate any hidden patterns, negative habits, perhaps connected to overspending, and perhaps you may discover also where you have overextended yourself recently, or perhaps failed to assert your worth. So generally, this full moon really helps you to see these habits, patterns, themes, tendencies that block you and hold you back in your life. So this is an amazing opportunity for you to reflect, to let go, to see how you can work and help yourself to feel more free, to feel more confident. All right, so this is like a personal reinvention, but on a deeper level, on the inside. For this reason, reflection, contemplation is really necessary. All right, so Cancers, welcome to your full moon in Taurus horoscope. This full moon illuminates your 11th house of friendships, collaborations, groups that you belong to, long-term aspirations as well. So think generally of any what about your involvement in any projects, group efforts, networking events, perhaps that took place in the last 18 months. So perhaps over the past 18 months, 10 months, 18 months, you may have been developing, working on some group project, for example, or perhaps you've been involved in some social situations, social circles, and there have been experiences, situations, perhaps that made you think about or yeah. Think about certain people, connections in your life, your involvement within certain groups. And now this full moon is here to generally prompt you to reassess, review which connections in your life are supportive and perhaps which ones are rather draining. So this is also like a major reality check when it comes to your group associations, your networks, but also your long-term goals and plans and dreams for the future, because this full moon helps you to understand what's realistic, what isn't, what's sustainable, and what isn't at this point in your life. All right, so here we've got also this full moon may also bring a possible culmination in some group projects, or generally this could also this full moon could make you. For some, this could be perhaps moving to the next level, deepening your engagement within a certain group, but perhaps you might also realize that you're no longer in alignment with certain group associations, group projects. It could make you even step away from some groups that no longer serve your long-term goals, long-term objectives as well. Same time, this full moon can also make you realize perhaps where your expectations for friendships, communities have been perhaps a little bit unrealistic or misaligned. So you might find yourself having some really deep conversations with others, with people from your circle, with people from the groups you belong to. And perhaps these conversations could help you see clearly who perhaps aligns with your visions, with your goals, with your points of view, and perhaps who doesn't. Overall, here, the T square between Pluto and Jupiter, with Venus being the focal planet, points to any imbalances hidden motivations as well within group dynamics. So thank you very much. Now, Leos, welcome to your full moon in Taurus horoscope. So this full moon is going to activate your 10th house of career, reputation, public life, career goals, objectives for the future, visibility. Usually with the full moon in the 10th house, we become more visible, more noticeable. This could be very much connected to a major recognition, good feedback for your hard work. Now, think about what you've been up to in your career life, in your public life in the last 18 months since the new moon in Taurus that initiated this particular cycle. Perhaps you've been working towards a major milestone, or perhaps you've been trying to ground and solidify your current position within your current job. So now the full moon in Taurus helps you to understand what's working, what isn't, perhaps whether you are on the right track or whether something needs to change. But at the same time, it might be that during this full moon, you might be reaching a major milestone, a critical point of clarity, of culmination, even. Now we've got Venus at 28 degrees of Libra at this time. Venus is the apex, the focal planet of the T-square, the Pluto and Jupiter opposition. So the way this energy could manifest for some people, it could manifest as perhaps some breakthroughs, revelations regarding compensation or contracts, or maybe some structural changes in your workplace, for example, because here Pluto in Aquarius could indicate that there could be some unexpected shifts taking place, something to do with some new implementations of technology, for example, at your work, some new softwares, this sort of dynamics. And at the same time, the full moon in Taurus here, in terms of visibility, it could bring a sense of urgency around visibility. Overall, with the Taurus energy here, patience is definitely required. Things don't happen instantly and quickly under the influence of the full moon in Taurus. So be patient, stay grounded, focus on what's sustainable, and take strategic steps to achieve your goals, to achieve your milestones, because you might be tempted to overextend, to rush, to just to gain recognition, for example, or approval. But here, the Taurus full moon wants you to be patient, wants you to be grounded in your energy. All right, so thank you so much, Leos. And now Virgos, welcome to your full moon in Taurus horoscope. This full moon highlights your the energy of your ninth house, so the energy of higher learning, legal matters, beliefs, long-term vision, travel, foreign travel. So this full moon could see you generally craving something adventurous, an adventurous activity, a foreign trip, foreign travel. But also think about what you've been up to since the new moon in Taurus took place back in May 2024. Perhaps if you've been studying, perhaps if you've been engaged in some interesting projects, a new career, for example, this full moon will make you realize whether the path, the direction that you're heading is sustainable, whether it is aligned with your inner sense of self, or whether something needs to change. The ruler of this full moon is Venus. Venus is at 28 degrees of Libra. It is also the apex, the focal point of the T-square, so the opposition between Pluto in Aquarius and Jupiter in Cancer. So here, Venus acts as the balancing point here. And the way this could manifest for you, this energy, it could manifest as perhaps you having to make an important decision about some educational matters, anything to do with publishing, legal matters, or long distance travel, particularly when these intersect with financial or perhaps some professional goals, objectives, considerations. This time you might also have to review perhaps some investments, long-term contracts. Maybe this is connected also to some educational scholarships, for instance, student loan. So Venus in Libra being the ruler of this full moon as well. Venus here is the mediator, highlights the need for careful planning and strategic planning as well. And of course, with the Taurus energy, it's about patience, determination, careful planning, and not about rushing. Because if we rush, if we become too impatient, then it can really disrupt the progress and bring unfulfilling outcomes and results. With the energy of this full moon, maybe it's time also to let go of some limiting beliefs that no longer serve your long-term growth. So thank you very much, Virgos. And now Libras, welcome to your full moon in Taurus horoscope. This full moon activates your eighth house, the house of transformation, regeneration, shared and joint resources. And here, think about what you've been building and working on in the last 18 months since the last new moon in Taurus that occurred in May 2024. Perhaps you've been dealing with financial matter, some investments, partnerships. Maybe this is about your intimate relationship. Whatever the scenario, this full moon illuminates which of these areas are aligned with your deeper sense of self, with your values, perhaps which ones need to be adjusted, rebalanced, or perhaps even released. So, this is a really important moment to gain clarity about mutual obligations. So, within your partnerships, within your marriage, shared assets, for example, or perhaps some deeper energies, currents shaping your relationships. Now, Venus, the ruler of this full moon, is at 28 degrees, and Venus is, of course, your chart ruler as well. So, Venus at 28 degrees creates that sense of urgency. However, this is a full moon in Taurus. Taurus energy is about patience, strategic planning, determination. So, here with these energies, with Venus being so highly influenced during this time, generally Venus wants you to approach the energies, the situations that occur around this time with clarity, with fairness, especially if you'll be involved in some discussions, negotiations around the money, finance, investments of some sort. Now, this at the same time during this full moon, you might also discover what's working, what isn't, any imbalances in investments, shared resources, for example, finances. And at the same time, this full moon might also help you to realize or address any issues in the sphere of debts. Perhaps if you have any debts or loans, then these may require your attention around this time. Now, since the eighth house deals with very deep and profound energies, emotionally speaking, during this time, you may also have to confront some deep and underlying power dynamics in the important relationships in your life. If there is any imbalance in the sphere of mutual respect or boundaries, personal boundaries, then it will become very noticeable and visible around this time. Just be mindful of any negative patterns connected to manipulation or trust. Any dishonesty can escalate into something really serious. This full moon is about honesty, it's about clarity as well. So that's what I've got for you. Thank you very much. Now, Scorpios, hello, fellow Scorpios. Welcome to this full moon in Taurus horoscope. So, this is your seventh house that's activated here, the area of one-to-one relationships, connections, partnerships, contracts. So, this full moon highlights the dynamics overall because it's a full moon. So the sun is in your first house, it's the full moon in the seventh. So it highlights these strong dynamics between you and the people that you engage with most closely in your life. So, over the last 18 months, since the last new moon that initiated this particular cycle, you may have been reassessing your um, relationships, your connections in your life, whether professional, love, romantic, or perhaps platonic. So you may have noticed where you may have noticed any imbalances, perhaps what's working, what isn't, who you can trust, and perhaps who perhaps you aren't fully sure about, who you can count on, and perhaps where this support is might be lacking. So now this full moon brings this full illumination and clarity as well about who and what aligns with your needs, with your desires. Venus being the ruler of this full moon, Venus is at 28 degrees of Libra in your 12th house. So Venus is the focal planet of Pluto and Jupiter opposition. We've got a T-square here that could create possible tension. So here, generally, this energy could make some relationships in your life feel intense. So watch out for any power dynamics. The energies, the emotions could be quite intensified as well. And anything that perhaps has been brushed under the carpet, unresolved, for example, it could resurface around this time. And Venus being in Libra, Venus wants you to deal with any tense situations during this time, during any negotiations overall, with fairness, with diplomacy, with grace. And this is the best way to maintain that well-balanced and harmonious energy. Now, the full moon in the seventh house also with Venus in Libra, 28 degrees, the way this energy could also manifest as a possible perhaps a need to confront any patterns connected to control, imbalance, dependency, even giving and receiving in relationships. So anything out of balance will become quite prominent, giving you a chance for a resolution in a way. Here, Venus being the focal planet of the opposition between Jupiter and Pluto, it also generally allows for transformation, change to occur without having to go through an unnecessary conflict. Hormones are a fantastic opportunity for letting go of what no longer serves us. So here, the full moon in the seventh house, the full moon's energy supports during this time letting go of relationships or perhaps agreements, associations that no longer align. While at the same time, this full moon can also help you strengthen those connections, those relationships that are built on honesty, that are built on shared purpose. So thank you so much, Scorpios and Sagittarius. Sagittarius, welcome to your full moon in Taurus horoscope. Full moon activates your sixth house of everyday life, everyday routine, your work, your health routine as well. So here, over the last 18 months since the new moon in Taurus that took place back in May 2024, perhaps you've gone through some lifestyle changes, perhaps you've implemented new habits, routines into your daily reality. Perhaps this is when your work schedule shifted. Maybe you also put a greater focus, attention upon your well-being, upon your diet. So here, this full moon illuminates helps you understand which routines, habits are effective and perhaps which ones need adjustment, which ones perhaps need your attention. What's working, what isn't. So at the same time here with this lunation, because the sixth house of course deals with our work, everyday life, our lifestyle, work and life balance. This lunation could also highlight some work-related contracts, some service agreements, for example. So overall, this full moon, under the influence of this full moon, you might be restructuring your daily reality, implementing some healthy lifestyle adjustments. Perhaps you might realize that certain routines or commitments are no longer serving your physical, mental health, and it's time for a change. So it's a moment to generally let go, release habits of perhaps overwork, people pleasing tendencies, unhealthy expectations you may have of yourself, of others. This is your chance to replace these with structures that support sustainable productivity, long-term stability. Remember, Taurus is a fixed earth sign. So whatever changes that you implement around this time, these will likely have a lasting outcomes and results. Over this full moon represents a critical moment for reinvention of your daily reality, of your daily life, of your work schedule, of your health routine, eating habits as well. So you're looking for new ways that can help you to create healthier routines, healthier eating habits, something that can last, something that's sustainable. So thank you very much. Now, Capricorns, welcome to your full moon in Taurus horoscope. So this full moon activates your fifth house of children, creativity, pleasure, romance. And this full moon makes you aware of what brings you fun, inspiration, satisfaction in your life. So, over the last few months, perhaps since the new moon in Taurus that took place back in May 2025, you may have been engaged in some major creative personal project. Perhaps you became a parent or a teacher, for example, or perhaps you were involved in a romantic relationship. So, whatever the scenario here, this full moon makes you realize which projects, hobbies, interests spark your interest, excite you, and perhaps which ones drain your energy. And similarly with relationships, this full moon could also make you question the romantic side of your life, whether you're satisfied, whether something needs to change, for example. And this is about realizing generally what brings you joy and what doesn't. Now, here, this full moon could also see you perhaps redefining, reevaluating your parenting style. Anything out of balance becomes quite noticeable under the energy of this full moon. All right, so of course we've got the Taurus energy, which is fixed and determined, but this isn't about rushing. Taurus doesn't like to be rushed, and this is about taking a strategic, consistent, maybe a slower, patient approach to this area of your life, and at the same time for some, this could also be a time when you might decide you want to monetize your talents, your creative gifts. Maybe this could be a moment when you're ready to embark on a new journey. Maybe you're starting a new business, a side hustle in the upcoming months or weeks. Remember, Mercury is retrograde in November, so avoid starting anything new between the 9th and the 29th of November. Now, at the same time, pay attention to any old fears, especially connected to perfectionism or self doubt. if these sort of patterns surface around this time, then pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to these limiting beliefs because these are the red flags blocking or limiting your progress. So thank you very much, Capricorns. Now, Aquarius, welcome to your full moon in Taurus horoscope. All right, so the full moon is happening here in the fourth house of your chart, so the area of your home, family, your roots, where you come from, emotional foundations as well. And think about what you started, what you initiated around the new moon in Taurus that took place back in May 2024, because here it might be that you've been reorganizing your living situation or perhaps resolving some family situation, dilemma, dynamic. For example, maybe you've been trying to establish more comfort, more security, more stability in the home area of your life. So here, this full moon brings this powerful opportunity. It's a powerful moment, if you will, to also to reassess what truly brings that emotional fulfillment, what truly grounds you. We've got Venus at 28 degrees of Libra, the ruler of this full moon. Venus is also the focal planet of the T-square between Pluto and Jupiter opposition. Generally, this is a time to approach any domestic, family-related situations, matters with fairness, with grace, with fairness, with diplomacy. It's not about rushing, it's not about being impulsive, aggressive, because Taurus energy likes to act with patience, with determination. It's not about rushing. If you rush, if you act impulsively, you're not going to get the desired outcomes and results. Pluto in Aquarius, activated by the opposition from Jupiter in Cancer. Pluto is, of course, in your first house. It could also signal some unexpected changes, perhaps some deeper transformations affecting your domestic or financial foundations of your life. Overall, this full moon is here to help you bring more stabilizing energy into your home sphere, into family dynamics, emotional foundations. But at the same time, it's also a chance to review your home situation, your household finances as well. This is a chance to declutter, get rid of what you don't need. And this way you make space for new opportunities, new energies to come to your space, to your inner space. So thank you very much, Aquarius. And now Pisces, welcome to your full moon in Taurus horoscope. And this full moon highlights the area of your third house, so the area of short distance travel, your neighbors, your siblings, your community. So generally, the third house highlights how you process information, how you exchange ideas with others, how you interact with your immediate surroundings. So over the last 18 months, more or less, since the new moon in Taurus that initiated this lunar cycle, you may have been dealing with an important situation in your life that has occupied your mind quite deeply. Perhaps you've been gathering information, you've been researching information, maybe you've been building a network. A network. For example, maybe you've been involved in a learning journey. Full moon could act as a turning point, a culmination of some major research project that you've been working on. This full moon could also potentially indicates that you will receive some important news, that you'll be making some important decisions. For example, Venus, the ruler of this full moon, is at 28 degree of Libra. It is involved in a T-square. So we've got Pluto in Aquarius and Jupiter in Cancer opposition. And this opposition connects to Venus by a square. And Venus becomes a focal point of this opposition. So for you, this could manifest in communications, in contracts, perhaps that you'll be dealing with, some educational matters, projects, maybe some community interaction. So Venus here generally wants you to approach any exchanges, information exchanges, communication, conversations, debate with fairness, with integrity. You need to ensure that your words, your ideas, agreements that you'll be dealing with, signing, for example, they need to align with your inner sense of self. They need to align with your long term goals. Now, bear in mind, we've got Mercury retrograde as of November the 9th until the 29th of November. But at this point, Mercury is already in the pre shadow period. So, from the 9th is not a good time for making any important decisions, drastic life changes, or signing any contracts. I'll explore this deeper in the monthly horoscopes, but just wanted to give you some heads up as well. All right, so thank you very much, Pisces, and all the best.